A mining spaceship called Borealis cruises through the vast emptiness of space, carrying miners in cryopods. These miners have 4 years remaining before they reach their destination. Suddenly, an asteroid changes course and heads directly toward the ship. It collides with the Borealis, forcing the cryopods into eject mode. The ship's AI system, Leonard, wakes the miners and begins preparing them for the situation. One miner, Andy, is awakened as the asteroid hits. Leonard urges him to stay calm and follow safety protocols. As the cryopods eject, they are directed toward a nearby planet while the Borealis is destroyed. Robotic arms in Andy's pod finish assembling his suit, securing his helmet, and restoring his oxygen supply. Many cryopods are destroyed in the aftermath, either by the collision or the heat of entering the planet's atmosphere. Andy's pod narrowly survives the descent, but struggles with its re-entry speed. When Andy's pod is about to crash into a hill, Leonard quickly spins the pod and steers it away. They crash land, but Andy survives. Unconscious, Andy is struck back to life by a memory of his family. He checks his surroundings and finds himself in a rocky mountain range under dark, stormy clouds. Andy attempts to contact the ship, but there is no response. Suddenly, the ground begins to tremble, and Leonard advises him to leave the pod. Next, Andy struggles to open the pod, but it is damaged. Searching the survival kit, he discovers there is no flare gun because he is a low-ranking miner. Desperate, Andy uses a fire extinguisher to smash the pod's window and attempts to escape. As he does, the unstable terrain flips the pod, and broken glass tears his suit. Leonard warns him that the planet's environment is inhospitable, so Andy uses a special spray to seal the tear. Then, Leonard informs Andy that the pod is on fire. Acting quickly, Andy digs his way out, clutching his son's toy, the only thing he holds dear. Now stranded on an alien planet, Andy sees the Borealis enter the atmosphere. However, the ship is already engulfed in flames, and when it crash lands, it is completely destroyed. The shockwave sends Andy flying several meters, but he miraculously survives. Next, Andy asks Leonard where they are. Leonard informs him that they are in an unmapped star system and haven't reached their intended destination. Spotting a light in the distance, Andy decides to head toward it, all while trying to contact someone on the radio. On the way, Andy comes across the remains of the Borealis and finds another pod. He tries to grab the oxygen tank from it, but panics when he sees the lifeless body inside. Summoning his courage, Andy removes the tank, only to find it damaged and unusable. Frustrated, he decides to continue toward the light. As he walks away, the pod behind him reveals ominous signs: blood and scratch marks, hinting that Andy is not alone. Eventually, Andy reaches the light and finds another survivor named Dwayne, who is overjoyed to see him. Dwayne, however, is considering eating the dead bodies to survive, believing they may be the only 2 survivors. He explains that the company took a shortcut through an asteroid belt to save fuel, which caused the crash. Dwayne, who works in the communications department, plans to send a distress signal back to Earth to request a rescue ship. He tells Andy that the signal will take 8 months to reach Earth, and even with the fastest rescue ship, the RTS, it will take another 2 years to arrive. Next, Dwayne suggests heading south to find the other half of the Borealis and starting a base camp there. When Andy begins to lose hope, Dwayne encourages him, reminding him of his resilience and giving him a motivational push. But the push is a little strong for Andy, and he moves back to regain his balance and accidentally unplugs a wire. While he turns away to fix it, a creature suddenly appears and drags Dwayne away. Andy, confused, doesn't know what just happened. Despite the shock, he finishes sending the distress signal. Next, Andy takes Dwayne's gun and heads toward the other half of the ship alone. His oxygen supply is running dangerously low. As he moves forward, a new voice comes through his radio, a survivor named Naomi. She tells Andy her legs are trapped in her pod and sends him her location. Leonard warns Andy that the area she is in is highly unstable, visibility is poor, and he will lose all his oxygen trying to reach her. Instead, Leonard advises taking a safer route to the other half of the Borealis to replenish his oxygen. Naomi begs Andy not to abandon her, telling him she has enough oxygen for both of them, and Andy agrees to help her. As Andy heads toward Naomi, the two start talking and get to know each other. After several hours, night falls, and Andy begins to sense something unusual. He thinks he sees something moving in the dark and asks Leonard to scan the area, but the AI cannot perform the task. Naomi comments that Leonard is an outdated AI model, chosen by the company to save money. An hour later, Andy continues walking, but keeps spotting shadowy figures darting through the darkness. He then tells Naomi about Dwayne and wonders aloud what might have happened to him. Soon, Andy notices strange footprints and follows them to a hole surrounded by webs. The sight terrifies him, and he quickly informs Naomi that there might be alien spiders on the planet. Well, technically, he and Naomi are the aliens here, which would make the spiders, well, just spiders. Next, Andy starts walking faster, sensing danger in the area as he notices more webs scattered around. Naomi asks him why he took the job, commenting on how hard it must be and suggesting that he might be running from his past. This triggers a memory of his wife and son playing together. Andy tells Naomi that they left him. Suddenly, he hears a low growling sound and starts scanning his surroundings nervously. Then, Leonard alerts Andy to multiple trackers approaching his location. Strangely, the trackers belong to crew members who are already dead. As the trackers get closer, Andy fires a flare gun for visibility. The flare lights up the area, revealing giant spiders with scorpion-like tails moving toward him. Terrified, Andy runs for his life, but loses his footing and falls into a crack in the ground. The spider chases him from above, its legs skittering dangerously close. Then Andy falls several meters down to a cliff edge. Andy miraculously survives the fall, clinging to life for the sake of the plot of the movie. The giant spider above roars in frustration, but doesn't follow him down. Andy informs Naomi about the spiders and reveals the horrifying truth that the trackers belong to Eaton crew members, and they are inside the creature's stomachs. Then Andy notices his suit is leaking oxygen and uses the last of his sealant spray to patch the tear. Suddenly, Dwayne's voice crackles over the radio. He tells Andy and Naomi that he is fighting the giant spiders. Naomi tells Andy, who is hesitant, to go help Dwayne, reasoning that Dwayne has more oxygen. Andy's GPS malfunctions from the fall, so Naomi guides him toward Dwayne using the radio. Andy eventually spots Dwayne's flare and reaches him, only to find him under attack. Dwayne shouts that he has a plan, but before he can act, a spider jumps on him. Andy hides behind a pod, helplessly listening as the spider devours Dwayne. Another spider begins sniffing for Andy, but Naomi distracts it by turning on the lights of a nearby pod. Andy takes the chance to hide inside another pod, only to find a decaying body inside. Then Andy begs Naomi to turn off the lights in his pod, but she has another idea. She turns on all the pod's lights at once, drawing the spiders toward them and giving Andy a chance to escape. Even then, a spider chases him until he stumbles into a foggy area. Andy warns Naomi to leave her pod immediately, but she tells him she's still trapped. Naomi starts panicking, so Andy sings a calming song he used to sing to his son. Afterward, Naomi confirms that Dwayne is dead and that they are the only two survivors left on the planet. While moving through the fog, Andy wonders why the spiders stopped chasing him and comes across a mesmerizing swarm of fireflies glowing purple, creating a stunning illusion. But suddenly, fireflies shift to an angry red and start attacking him, trying to break his helmet and tear his suit. Andy sprints away from the swarm, barely escaping. Naomi suggests that the spiders might be afraid of the fireflies, which could explain why the spiders stopped chasing him. Before Andy can process this theory, a massive creature's mouth suddenly opens from the ground, swallowing him whole. As Andy sinks into the monster's mouth, memories of his family flash before his eyes. Then, he disappears completely inside. Inside the creature, Andy calls Leonard for help as he watches the filthy insides of the creature. He tells Leonard that he's having a heart attack. Leonard quickly activates the defibrillator built into Andy's suit, and the creature reacts violently to the shock, spitting Andy out. Next, Andy scrambles to his feet as the monster chases him. He then falls into a cave-like structure filled with fireflies once again. The glowing creatures swarm him aggressively, forcing him to flee through to the other side of the cave. Once he exits, the fireflies stop chasing him and leave him alone. With only a little oxygen left in his suit, Andy heads toward Naomi instead of the remaining part of the Borealis. He reaches her just in time before his oxygen runs out, and she quickly plugs him into her supply. Andy tries to free Naomi's trapped leg but isn't strong enough. Using her safety tools, he creates a lever to lift her leg, finally setting her free. Naomi confirms that her leg isn't broken. Once they leave the pod, Andy wraps a piece of metal around her leg like a splint, which stabilizes it and helps her walk better. After gathering supplies from Naomi's pod, She thanks Andy for saving her instead of heading to safety. Soon, a horde of spiders surrounds them, forcing them to run. Naomi's advanced AI, AMI, injects her with morphine to help her withstand the pain in her leg. After running for a while, they fall, and a spider looms over them, ready to attack. Naomi fires her flare gun at the spider, causing the spiders to chase the flare instead. Taking advantage of the distraction, the duo boards the remaining part of the Borealis. Naomi struggles to shut the doors as the control system malfunctions. After some attempts, she manages to close the doors just as one of the spiders gets caught and sliced in half. Next, the creatures begin banging on the door, forcing Naomi and Andy to retreat further into the ship. The emergency lights flicker, signaling that the backup generator is working. Naomi navigates the ship with ease, knowing its layout well, while Andy, who has only been aboard twice and spent most of his time in cryosleep, feels lost. They eventually find a deck with a livable environment and enough supplies to sustain them until help arrives. While trying to open the deck, they notice a trail of blood and discover that a spider has made its way inside the Borealis. They hide and watch as the spider lays an egg, covering it with cobwebs and a dead body inside. Andy feels disgusted and fights the urge to vomit. The spider seems unaware of their presence and leaves. But just as they start to move, another spider ambushes them from behind. Then Andy locks them in a room, thinking they are safe. But Naomi quickly points out that they have trapped themselves in an airlock. Realizing the mistake, Andy bangs the door with a metal bar, but it's no use. Hopeless, both of them take off their helmets and start talking. Andy shows Naomi a recorded message of his wife and son. He tells her they died in a car crash while returning home from his birthday, and he has lived with the guilt of surviving ever since. He feels he should have been the one to die. Naomi tells him that saving her is proof that his life still has meaning. She tells him that she had lost faith in people, but says that his actions have given her hope again. Next, Naomi hugs him and notices a cluster of fireflies attached to his suit. Suddenly, the relentless spider breaks through the lock. Thinking fast, Naomi throws the fireflies at the creature, which backs off immediately. The duo takes the chance to run, but nearly falls into the cargo bay. The spider charges at them, causing all of them to fall down into the bay. As the spider chases them again, Andy throws Naomi's sealant spray at it. The spider bites into the can, which explodes, temporarily stunning it. This gives Andy and Naomi time to escape. Andy suggests they use the mining drill to kill the spider for good. Next, Naomi creates a diversion, running and yelling for Andy to find a way to kill the spider. Andy comes up with a brilliant idea to crush the spider under a pod located in an elevated area. He asks Naomi to lure the spider toward him while he searches for a functional pod. Leonard informs Andy that the only working pod is 2 levels above their current position. Andy manages to climb up to the pod while the spider relentlessly strikes at Naomi. To help Naomi, Andy turns off all the lights, knowing the spider is sensitive to them. This allows Naomi to escape the spider's sight. Naomi then finds some emergency lights and straps them on to draw the spider's attention. Meanwhile, Andy works to eject the pod manually. Leonard tells him that he has shut down power to prioritize Naomi's safety and warns that restoring it will take at least 15 minutes. Then, Andy decides to override the system and jumpstart the pod himself. Naomi, now lit up like a beacon, successfully attracts the creature toward Andy's position. Andy connects his suit to the pod to charge it manually. Leonard warns Andy that the process will short-circuit his AI system, meaning Leonard will cease to exist. Leonard also cautions that Andy himself might not survive the impact. Despite the risks, Leonard expresses his willingness to sacrifice itself and Andy. As the creature moves directly below the pod, Andy ejects the pod directly onto the spider as he recalls the car accident that took his family's lives. The pod ends up crushing the spider, but the impact leaves Andy unconscious. Next, Naomi rushes to him, crying as she thinks he has died. Moments later, Andy wakes up and Naomi embraces him tightly. The two share a quiet moment, watching the sunrise on the planet. Despite the harsh conditions and deadly creatures, they are reminded of the planet's strange beauty. To their surprise, Leonard reactivates, explaining that it has undergone an upgrade. Andy smiles in relief, and Leonard plays a beautiful song for them. Holding hands, Andy and Naomi look into the future. What began as an instant cryo-sleep voyage turned into a battle for survival. Now they have almost 2 years to wait for a rescue ship, assuming the distress message even reached Earth. But if it did, the question remains, will the company, known for cutting corners to save costs, Be willing to send help to an unknown planet for just 2 people? That answer is up to you to decide. As for Andy and Naomi, I believe they will find a way to make the wait worthwhile. Maybe even romantically. The end.